This episode of Chasing the Dollar is proudly brought to you by Sportingbet. There's no better bet than a Sportingbet.
Hello and welcome along to Chasing the Dollar, brought to you by Sportingbet. Ben Damon back in the chair, joined as always by Adam Pengilly. And Adam, we've got to start by paying tribute to a fantastic performance by a New South Wales greyhound with Smart Valentino taking out the national distance. Mark Swift, what an effort.
Yeah, hello Ben. First of all, good to have you back on the desk. Yeah, fantastic by Mark Swift. It's a great story that racing's built around, isn't it? The Lithgow coal miner, only one dog in his kennel, winning arguably the most prestigious racing, greyhound racing. And
he didn't even get to trial the dog because he had to work in the mine that day. So yeah, that's an even better story.
So the story goes, that was my big concern for him going into the final. He didn't have a look at the meadows, but he certainly proved me wrong. Thank goodness Ollie Allen got some cash for us in the National Sprint Championship to make up for an absolute wipeout at Wentworth Park last week, and hopefully find a few more winners at Wentworth Park this Saturday night.
Yeah, it sounded like a pretty tough one at Wentworth Park last week, but we're going to have a look at the quaddie there. We're also going to have a look at the major race on Saturday night at the Gardens, which is, of course, the Blacktop. And let's get straight into that one. Here is the field for the Blacktop at the Gardens on Saturday night. Jason McKay has 5 runners. What did you make of this?
Going to go with number 3, Electro Storm, Ben. I'm going to try and find a bit of value here with him. I was super impressed with his run last week, not so much for the early speed, which we've come to know him for, but for the way he kept finding the line over the last 100 metres behind Zipping Summer. It's not something we usually associate with the greyhound, with Electro Storm. There seems to be plenty of speed in this race, but I think the thing that's going to be massively in his favour is the fact that he's got plenty of early speed. He should be capable of leading, but also the fact that he tends to shift a little bit off the track at the first turn, and that might make it a little bit hard for some of those greyhounds boxed outside of him. Provided he remain strong at the finish, I think he can almost win this race, and you go around at juicy odds for mine. So I'm going to include number 3, Electro Storm, on top. We're going to also stick with the experience and include Amadeus Strikes for second. She's such an honest performer, drawn out wide on the track. If she doesn't get into too much trouble on the first turn, she'll be doing her best work late. I've included number 7, Zipping Summer, for third. Should probably give Amadeus Strikes a nice card into the race and will be thereabouts after just pipping Electro Storm in her heat. And number 4, Zipping Willow, looks a class act in the field. I'm just a little bit worried with the draw, with Electro Storm tending to use a little bit of the track drawn on her inside, but she's definitely capable of winning this as well. But my numbers are 3, 8, 7 and 4.
Okay, so that's our look at the Blacktop. Now let's get into the quaddie legs at Wentworth Park this Saturday night. It starts with race number 5 on the program. And Adam, you're tipping one here that hasn't won in plenty of tries at Wentworth Park.
Yeah, it's a really tricky race to start the quaddie, Ben. I'm going to go with number 6, Calm Model. She hasn't won in 7 tries at Wentworth Park, but seems to be lacking a fair bit of luck at headquarters of late. I thought she was really good at Dapto last week. She wasn't beaten far by Zipping Willow earlier this month, and she looks like she'll get a sweet run outside a slow beginner and boxed underneath a wide runner. So happy to make number 6, Calm Model, my top pick. Going to include number 7, Rocket Banquet, for second. She's the wide runner I was talking about a little bit earlier. She seems to have an absolute mortgage on box 7 at the moment. She tumbled pretty heavily at the first turn last week, but I don't think there'll be nowhere near as much pressure on her inside this week, so she's capable of winning this race as well. Chances Are was excellent at Dapto last week and also looks drawn to advantage out wide in the track. And just going to throw in number 2, Auntie Merle, for fourth. Has been mixing box manners of late, but can go close from the inside. But my numbers will be 6, 7, 8 and 2.
Well, that takes us to the second leg of the quaddie. This is race number 6. It is the free-for-all at Wenty on Saturday night. Pretty tough-looking race as well. A bit of class around.
Yeah, it's another tough race. I mean, we're playing pretty wide in our quaddies as well, but I think I'm going to go with Fast Archer here. I'm hoping a couple of other greyhounds might shade him in the market. We might be able to lock down some sort of price for him. On paper, his last few runs haven't been fantastic, but if you go back a few starts ago in a heat of the New South Wales Sprint Championship, he probably should have qualified for that final. Got hampered really badly on the home turn. Absolutely stumbled out of the box at his next start, and I thought he was pretty good in the heat of the Blacktop last week. Back to Wentworth Park, if he can step cleanly and muster enough speed early, I reckon he might be able to run some sort of race at a price with a wide runner on his outside as well. So number 2, Fast Archer, will go on top. I've included number 8, Where's Wob, for second. Back to Wentworth Park, drawn pretty suitably out wide in the track. Definitely capable of leading this race on his day, so he's also with a chance. Number 3, Dainty Banquet, is just a consummate professional and just ran into one better in Watto Lotto last week. And number 1, Cracking Chain, was fantastic last week and is another legitimate chance to win this race. Going to play really wide in our quaddies, but hoping to get a price for Fast Archer.
Let's have a look at race number 7 on the program, the third leg of the quaddie at Wenty on Saturday night. This is the way that it looks, and a bit of form coming out of those Blacktop heats. Edge probably goes around the favourite here, do you think?
Yeah, probably will, Ben, but I'm a little bit worried about the draw, so that's why I'm going to make number 6, Slickum Sun, my top pick. Looks like another really tough race, and there's a few riskier beginners right across the track, but Slickum Sun usually is pretty consistent away from the boxes. I think at the very worst he'll be in the first 2 or 3 charging into the first turn, and his record suggests he'll be a little bit better drawn out wide on the track as well, so happy to make make him my top pick. I'm going to go with number 1, Quaddie Hitman for second. Definitely not the fastest beginner, lacks a lot of early speed, but should get an absolute acreage of space to work in on Saturday night, boxed underneath a really wide runner. If he can just muster enough speed and punch up along the rails, he'll be able to run a nice race at odds. Going to throw in number 4, Edge for third. One of those greyhounds coming out of those blacktop heats. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, just really worried at what Quaddie Havoc's going to do in the early stages. An absolute wide runner might shift off the track at the first turn and cause trouble for a greyhound like Edge. And going to include number 7, Quaddie Lexus for fourth. Looks the best of the rest on paper.
And the final leg of the quaddie is race number 8. It is the Sportingbet Stayers Stakes. There's a classy one going from the inside here too.
Yeah, I'm really keen on number 1, Quaddie Looney, Ben. Looks like an outstanding staying prospect. You probably won't get much of a price, but if you have a look at her recent form, she was only a couple of lengths outside Smart Valentino's time on the same night he won the New South Wales final of the National Distance Championships. And then she beat Grayton's last week when he was hampered on the home turn. There seems to be a little bit of speed drawn around her, but she should be good enough to punch up along the rails, be prominent, and give them windburn down the back straight the second time. So happy to make Quaddie Looney my top pick. I'm really keen to have a look at number 7, Maya Sunshine, on Saturday night. I'll be having a little saver on her on an each-way basis. I was waiting for her to get up to the staying trip, and she'll be stripped much fitter for that first run over 700 metres at Richmond last week. She might be a sneaky little chance as well to win this race. And number 7 goes in for second. Proven Impala adds some interest up from Victoria and is much better than a forgettable run at Wenty back in March. And we're going to throw in Hot Wire for fourth. Quaddie Looney will be short, but should be able to get the job done in the last leg of the quaddie.
All right, time to have a look at Adam's best bet on the program.
Anyway, race 4, number 8, Diamond Lucy, Ben. I thought she was really good at Richmond last week and should have time to balance up from an outside alley and hit top gear.
Okay, what about some value for us?
Like we mentioned earlier, race 6, number 2, just hoping a couple of other greyhounds might shade Fast Archer in the market, and with his early speed, he'll put himself right in the free-for-all race.
You had a rough go at the quaddie last week. What about this week?
Yeah, really struggling in the quaddie last week. Let's hope we can get it this week. Ben, I'm going to start off with Calm Model, Rocket Banquet, Chances Are, and Auntie Merle in the first leg. We're going to stick with that theme and play half the field in the second leg with Fast Archer, Where's Wob, Dainty Banquet and Cracking Chain. In the third leg, we're going to include Slickum Sun, Quaddie Hitman and Edge. And seeing we played so wide earlier in the quaddie, we're going to go come home just with Quaddie Looney 1 out in the staying race.
1 out in the final leg of the quaddie. Good luck to you.
I'll keep our fingers crossed, Ben. We need something.
Yeah, we certainly do. We'll see you next time on Chasing the Dollar.
This episode of Chasing the Dollar is proudly brought to you by Sportingbet. There's no better bet than a Sportingbet.